So here's the question now. Do you think people should be given paid time off from work after a romantic breakup? Give us a call on 0207 862 2222 and I'll have a word with you about it in just a minute. We're only a week away from Valentine's Day, but of course this time of year isn't all flowers and chocolates for everyone. In fact, February turns out to be the most popular time of the year to break up, with law firms reporting they see lots of couples looking for a divorce in the last week of the month. But breakups can be hard on both the people involved. So do you think they should be given time off from work to deal with their heartbreak? Well, it's not an unusual thing to request because it already happens at companies in Japan and Australia and Germany. And even the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, made headlines for taking what she called a personal day after separating with her partner of 10 years. So should workers be given paid time off for heartbreak leave? Let's start with you, Albie. I don't know if you've had your heart broken or not along the way.
I have had breakups, and breakups are hard. They're a difficult time for both parties involved. I remember once I was dumped by a WhatsApp message.
Oh, no.
It was absolutely awful. But as awful as it was, I don't think I needed time off for it. Now, obviously, if you're in a marriage, that is something completely different. Divorce is something that people go through, and it's very difficult. But even in those circumstances, I'm not sure that you need time off. Some things in life are hard. Not everything that is hard requires time off for work.
Paula, what do you think?
I think they should. And you might not be aware of a group called the Positive Parenting Alliance. They've been lobbying government, lobbying large companies in particular to change their approach in HR to providing this compassionate leave, recognising the fact that there is this massive impact not only on you emotionally, but in terms of you managing your life. It's incredibly hard, actually, not just emotionally, but to manage the practicalities of separating from somebody. So I absolutely support this being built into people's employment contracts. And when we think about not only couples who are divorcing, but also couples who are separating who have children, and the impact on the children of that separation, and how you need to be able to be there to support the children going through that, and you will get that random call from school to say that your child is seriously struggling, please can you come and collect them, etc. And you have to say to your, hopefully, sensitive boss, look, I need to leave. Or if you need to attend a court hearing, or if you need to go and see a solicitor, all of those things, Vanessa, it must be right, should be taken into account.
I just remember when it happened to me, and I because it came as a bolt from the blue when my husband left, and I remember going into work that morning, knowing that my girls were going to find out when they came back from school that night. I felt like my whole world had exploded, really. And I remember very clearly what the job I was doing was, and that was I was filming with the late, great Dale Winton that morning. And it was some very light-hearted, very fluffy sort of, I think it was an ITV show, and I was, and I had to be all dressed up and wear makeup and laugh and smile and joke and everything else. And I felt as if I was almost having an out-of-body experience, my heart was kind of thumping with the shock of it all. But looking back, I can't help thinking it was quite helpful to be with other people, to have the structure of work, to be able to whisper about it to somebody I could confide in, instead of, staying at home and just kind of trying to wrestle with it in terrible isolation. Sometimes work can be an incredibly supportive place, can't it?
It can take your mind off things. And, of course, half of the people that work in this country are not employees. They are freelance. So they don't have a choice but to go to work the day after they've broken up with someone, or they've gone through a divorce, because if they don't go to work, they won't get paid. So how do you square that circle?
Quite easily. So there are times when life actually takes over from work, and you have to stop and you have to say to yourself, well, hang on a minute, I need to check in with myself today because things are just not good. Or, as I've said, there are practical things involved in the separation. So you might have to go and see a solicitor. You might have to be there when the people come to, to collect the furniture, etc. So it's not just about the emotional, it's also about the practical. And I'm saying that is why it's important for it to be recognised by employers. And lots of employers are, Vanessa. We've got large companies.
But what about freelancers?
Well, then you have to stop. There has to be a
what
reality.
about if you're somebody who
doesn't
gets through a whole
there? I'm a
lot
freelancer.
Paula, what if you
Albie.
have a lot of relationships, though? What if you, some people come out of a terribly long marriage, okay, but what if you've got a 3-month one there, a broken heart after 6 months over there, a 6-weeker that didn't work out, a couple of days you thought you were in love, you weren't, you're devastated. All you want to do is sit
Holiday
at home,
romance.
listen to miserable records, listen to the Smiths and stop breaking your heart, that sort of thing. Let's talk to Jimmy in York. Hi, Jimmy. Do you think people should be given paid leave if they have a breakup?
No, I don't.
Okay, why not?
Well, they've got holidays. If they want time off, they could take the holidays and get paid. Why should companies have to pay for people to take time off for a breakup or anything really, apart from maternity leave? That's the only thing I think people should get paid for. I don't think it's serious enough. If they want time off, use the holidays.
Have you ever had your heart broken, though, Jimmy? I want to know whether you've been through it yourself
Yes,
or
I
not.
have.
Oh, you have?
Yes, I have.
And when you
I'm
did,
70.
were you able to just, sally off into work and do a full day's work? Yes.
Yes.
And
I went straight back to work.
And did you go home and cry in the evenings?
For 3 years. I was with somebody for 3 years.
Yeah.
And we broke up, and I went straight back to work. I couldn't do with being by myself. You sit there moping. So it's better, as you said earlier on, that was listening, get back to work, get people around you, and don't sit at home moping.
Excellent call and excellent use of the word moping, which you don't hear often enough these days. Have a good mope is a good thing. Let's talk to Joyce in West Sussex. Hello, Joyce.
Hello.
Hi. What do you think? Do you think a broken heart's so painful that you should have paid leave?
No, I don't think you should have paid leave. However, heartbreaking it is, and having been through it, and I still remember it was my very first boyfriend, and I found if you find out later on what happened, and somebody lied about me, he didn't think enough of me to discuss it.
Gosh.
He just broke up with me.
How long ago was that, Joyce? How many years ago was that?
Oh, my goodness. I'm a pensioner now.
So we're talking, how many years? 40 years ago or something like that?
Probably 50.
Probably 50 years ago. But I can tell it's still rankling after all these years because it wasn't right. It wasn't the right thing, was it, what he did to you?
Exactly. And it's the lying. Like, why did somebody do it? But why did he not respect me enough to discuss it?
Absolutely. He was wrong and you were right. No question about that, Joyce, at all. I don't care whether it was 50 years ago or not. You're still annoyed, you're still hurt, and you were still wronged. And you should probably do a bit of moping, retrospective moping about it. But the question is, would you have benefited from staying at home to have a good cry and, get yourself back together? And should your company have paid you to stay there?
No.
No.
I worked in the medical industry, and I remember, I can't remember, it was the day that they did a series of x-rays on patients to see if they got ulcers or anything like that. They were more important than me. All
right, well, that's a very good way of looking at it if you think about someone else, Paula.
Well, yes, but let's look at the stats. And Albie made the point about, half of us are self-employed. Yes, we are. And you will know, if you're self-employed, that there are lots of benefits that if you are employed, that you get that you don't if you're self-employed. So that's not a reason to deny those who are in employment.
I want to hear from Paul in Merseyside. Hello, Paul. Good to hear from you. What would you like to say about this?
Well, I think one issue that's not being taken into account is the fact that, men get absolutely devastated when their love of their life leaves them, but they also lose their children. Now, none of that seems to be taken into account. I was absolutely devastated. I had to pay the mortgage, pay maintenance, which left me destitute. I was virtually living on the streets. It was only my mum, who was very elderly at the time, was able to offer me somewhere to live. But I still had to pay her because I couldn't live there for free. So I needed time off.
And did you get it? Did you get time off?
Well, fortunately, I had a very understanding employer.
Oh, good.
And he gave me some time off. But it's never enough. It took me a couple of years to get over what had happened to me. But I still lost my children. You know, you're only allowed to see, I was only allowed to see them once a week, which, having seen your children 24/7, every day of the week, every week of the year, and every year, I mean, I was mortified. And I was fortunate that I had an employer who was very understanding.
And I hear that you now have, they're telling me in my ear, a good relationship with him, which I'm pleased to hear. Thank you very much indeed for calling. Marvellous to talk to you. So thank you very much indeed to Paul. And thanks very much indeed to Paula and Albie, and for your fabulous calls all morning.